And I want to start talking about what we're going to talk about today, because I've been choosing different subject matters, taking them from people that really know how to work the law of attraction, or I better said, it could just be the law of karma, because it's the law of cause and effect. What we put out, we are going to get back in our lives. This is a fact. So if you're full of fear, you're going to attract fearful things. If you're full of confidence and you're changing your patterns, then it's going to be reflected in your life. So remember, we're going through a list that I gave you in one of the lessons about, let me go through some of them again. Taking responsibility. Remember, in order to get out of the victim mode, which we all have been in at some points in our life, we have to remember to take responsibility. In other words, we can't blame anything else. We got to take responsibility to see how we can change our lives to reflect what we want in our lives and not be victims. When you blame others or circumstances, you are simply giving your power to change away. Because remember, this is what we need to remember about this class every week. This class is to remind us of what we forget during the week. Yes, we're all good intentions, we're going to do this, but we all forget. It's nice to have this class to bring us back to what we need to be reminded of and keep ourselves centered in this world, while it's going to be getting completely and totally chaotic as we get closer to the end of the month and the end of the year. So that's what I mean by taking responsibility. Don't be a victim. Don't blame others or circumstances for the situations you may not want to be in your life. In other words, see how you have contributed to the problems and see how you can change it. So another thing, be clear. When you put out an affirmation or something that you truly want, is it blurred by so many things? You have to be clear about what you want. And believe in yourself. That's what we're going to be talking about today in great detail, because the message today is to transcend limiting beliefs about the world, about yourself, about your abilities, about what you're here to do. Some people, this is the issue, that their belief systems are what are limiting them. And what are our belief systems? And you know, everything that you think in your mind day in to day out is going to be relative to your belief systems, whatever they may be. And this goes back, of course, to childhood. I mean, it's hard to understand this, but it is totally a fact that by the age of 5, we pretty much have everything formed about our personality. In other words, what's happened to us in those early formative years sticks with us. And that's where our judgments are actually coming from. So if there is a limiting belief that you have about yourself or about what you're here to achieve, what you want to achieve, you got to really trace it back. Why do you believe that about yourself? And once you do understand what it's based on, going way back, then it's gone. So let me mute everybody, unless you want to say something. Okay, so our belief systems are really everything. And, you know, all of our thoughts, we can always say we can change our thoughts. But the same thoughts will keep reoccurring based on our belief systems, whatever they may be, that were formulated early on. And you see, the way you react to things in your life are going to be based on your beliefs. What do you really believe and why? Why do you have negative belief systems? Maybe somebody told you when you were a child to be quiet, not to speak, to shut up, I'm sure, it's a little bit more intense and just be quiet. So, we've all experienced mean people growing up as kids, and some of us, even our parents, are at fault. But we can't blame them anymore because we have to look at what it was that caused us to believe a certain way about ourselves. And astrologically, I always talk to people about this because early on is where we formulated our ideas of who we are. In astrology, it's actually the second house, deals with our childhood experiences. And it deals with our experiences all the way up to the time that we leave home. And so many of us have had parents that restricted us in our beliefs that we couldn't do something, but you got to let that go. In other words, what I always tell people, you can't let your past control your future anymore. We have the free will to change our beliefs, therefore change the direction and the course of our lives, where we're going to go, where we're going to be headed. This is something we have to really work on. Every day when those negative thoughts pop up, you've got to change it. You got to say, I choose not to believe that anymore. Where did that come from? It's probably maybe when you had some grand ideas about what you wanted to be in the future. Somebody shot you down and said, you'll never be that. You can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not all these things that we heard when we were growing up as kids. You're too fat. You're too skinny. All these criticisms stick with us. And we've got to realize that we're letting all those old recordings control our future till we stand back and do some self-analysis. This is what it really takes to change our life. Because when you just let reactions take over, they're always going to be based on our past. And we're always going to do the same thing over and over and over again. That's the nature of the human mind. It just feels comfortable when it repeats the same patterns. That's why I've told everyone, within your daily lives, do something different you've never done before. Even when you drive to certain locations, go a different way. I know it sounds insignificant, but this is part in changing the patterns within our mind, that we just want to keep doing the same thing. If you keep doing the same thing, you're not going to get a different result. That's what we have to realize. So whatever it is that you need to change about yourself, and most of the time, it's limited beliefs that we have about who we are and what we're capable of doing. We got to change that. We can achieve what we want, but we have to change our limited thoughts that we can't do it. And if you think you can just do an affirmation about it, you can't. Because every time you say an affirmation about something you want to achieve, and in your mind you think that's not possible, you shoot it down every time. You may say, I want this, I am this, but every time you think, no, I'm not. That's what needs to change. And that's the belief system that's behind it. And always it's been formulated from childhood experiences, from our parents, from our siblings, even, growing up in school, in different cultures. Different cultures have different ways, and our religious beliefs. Oh my goodness. Now, if that isn't something that can destroy us, I don't know what is. Because all this stuff about going to hell and all of that, we all grew up with something like that from some religious belief system. Or God is going to punish us. God doesn't punish anyone. We punish ourselves. God is all-knowing, love and joy and bliss and happiness. The only people that judge are humans. Why would we put a human trait onto the essence of God? And that's what religions do. They put human traits onto God. God doesn't punish. God doesn't even judge, because God is all love. We're the ones that judge. So we got to stop all this judgment and belief system, because growing up, we have had all this stuff crammed down our throats that God is watching you and punishing you if you don't do the right thing. Well, no, we will always do the right thing when we come from the right place, but we have to appreciate who we really are. And that means going within and connecting to our divine spirit that is consciousness. If you don't do that, you're not conscious or aware, and consciousness is everything. And the great yogis say that consciousness is what exists beyond this life. Our personalities, our ways of thinking that have been formulated from our past and our childhood experiences, that isn't really us. And that will dissipate when we pass. But our spirit of the oneness is connected to the divine, which is consciousness and awareness, that lives on forever. We are immortal, but that is who we really and truly are. And when we come to that realization, there is nothing that can destroy us, but all of our beliefs. And this forms part of our personality, like if we like our personality or not like our personality. You know, we're pretty attached to these things, but you have to remember we can change, but only through conscious awareness of what's caused it. Because usually when I realize what's caused it, going back to maybe an experience in my childhood, then that is when I realize it's only in my mind, and I can let it go because it's not who I am. That's what helps me remember. You know, I'll never forget one time I was in an airport, probably about 6-7 years ago. And I heard this lady talking on the phone, and she was ranting and raving, complaining about everyone in the world and how bad they were and how she was mistreated. And then I heard her go up to the counter where the gate person was working to get ready for a flight. Well, she started doing everything and saying everything to that gate person, complaining about exactly what she was complaining people were doing to her. And I saw loud and clear, what you put out there, you get right back, because she was the one that was putting out all the complaints. And that's what she perceived as coming back at her, but it was really nothing but a reflection of her. And we can see this day in to day out everywhere, but we can't allow this to keep happening to ourselves. We have to take charge and become conscious and aware. Change your limiting beliefs that originated from your childhood experiences. They're there. And really do this maybe in a meditative state. Ask the question, where did this belief come from? Then open your mind, open your heart, and sit and allow. The thoughts will come. The thoughts will come. And also, I often say, use the lighting of a candle. I always find that it is so healing for me to look at the flame. The flame represents the spirit, and it represents eternity, the flame of life. So do these meditations when you can, using a candle, the flame. I actually lit one today as I'm standing, you know, because I wanted to know what message I needed to give you, and that's when it came. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is why I came up with this that we're talking about today, our beliefs. Now, maybe you'll see something entirely different from this symbol, this image, but this is a very entertaining picture that I pulled from my book of symbols. And by the way, if you want to create your own book of symbols, it's very powerful. Remember what I told you guys to do. You get these sheets of paper, these plastic that you can get at Office Depot or whatever, Staples, and put them in a binder and go to a half price books or someplace where you can get old magazines and choose a lot of symbols, pictures that have symbolism in them. And sometimes you may not know what the symbolism means. You just know there's lots of symbols in the pictures, and make your own book of symbols. For me, it's been the most healing, rewarding experience. I did mine about 30 years ago. And like I said, these pictures do reflect the time of the books when I got them. But it is an amazing spiritual experience because you're starting to get what symbols mean. Now, let me show you the one I chose for today. It's actually very humorous, and boy, do we need humor today. But it is rich with symbolism, and I'm going to ask you guys if you see anything different than what I've seen. So look at this picture I got today. So what do you see in this picture? You don't have to tell me yet. I'll tell you what I think I see. Well, for one thing, I went to Catholic school, and when I was in Catholic school, they still had nuns dressed up in these outfits, but they were even more severe. They went all the way to the ground. And what amazed me is they always had white cardboard around their faces and in their bibs, all this white cardboard. I didn't understand why, if they were supposed to suffer, because it looked so uncomfortable. And I remember in Catholic school, we didn't have air conditioning, and getting close to the summer months, these nuns were in these full black outfits with cardboard all around their faces. But to me, this represents, you don't expect to see something like this. This is what I get out of this. You don't expect to see, 5 nuns lined up in front of a takeout food place getting ice cream. And it's just something that is not what you expect. And then again, what do those outfits represent? They represent the old religious beliefs. This is where I got the belief thing for today. This is all about old beliefs, that we're supposed to do this and do this in an order, but nuns are not supposed to be out getting ice cream. I mean, it's like, of course they do, but we have these ideas about what we think they're supposed to be like. And you know what else came to me? If you'll notice, there's 2 places on here, I don't know if you can see it, where it says, I don't know if you can see it if it's backwards to you, but in 2 places, it says deviled crabs, deviled crab. And I thought, here is the nuns, why with signs that say devils on it, deviled crab. I'm sure they're crab cakes, which, I have been to little places like this along the coast of Mississippi and Alabama, on the Gulf of Mexico. I've been to restaurants exactly like this back in the day. But my point is, what came to me, I did a little meditation after I pulled up this picture. I'll show it to you again, just a minute. I did a little meditation, and it came to me, a movie popped in my head that this kind of reminded me of. And some of you might have seen it. It is the silliest movie. If you watch it just for a few minutes, you think that is the dumbest movie I've ever seen. But it's called Bedazzled. And in it, Elizabeth Hurley is Satan. And there's this guy, it's kind of like Aladdin. He gets to have something like 5 wishes of anything he wants in the world. And I don't know if at first he knows she's the devil, or maybe he does, but he can have anything that he wants. And it is done so well because he says he wants to be the richest man in the world and have the most beautiful place in the world and be the richest man in the world. Well, she gives him his wish. Little did he know that he would be a drug lord in Mexico, and all these people are after him to kill him. And then he prays, please get me out of here. I can't take, So every time he makes a wish, he gets it. But he didn't think about all the circumstances that would go behind getting that wish. And every time he goes, please take it away, please take it away. And in the end of this movie, it's so cute. It's so cute the way it's done. And actually, you can watch this movie with your children. It is that simple and silly. It is not anything that's like, badly rated for children to watch, because the message in the end made me think about this photo. As after he got all his wishes, and every single time he hated it, he realized he just wanted to be who he is. And he went back and he was walking down the park, and here was the archangel, the angel, with Elizabeth Hurley, who was playing the devil, and they were playing chess together. And it was like symbolic of, here is the duality of life, and here's the good and the bad, but they were working together. And it was just a beautiful message that, in this world, there's going to be things that it will never be perfect. And nothing in this world is, worth it, except for you finding your piece of who you are and not wanting all these grand things that really aren't what you think they are. So in this movie, it was like what you think it's not, what you think things really are, they are not. And that's what I got out of this picture. What you think everything is, it really is not. And these are just normal people wanting to go out and have an ice cream, but we see them as not normal. It's not what you expect to see. And then I thought it was funny that there was a devil crab in the window along with the, the nuns that are, pious and saintly and good. And it made me think of all of life. We think it's one way, but it's actually not. It's another way. That's the message I'm getting from this. And that's what we need to change. So with that, now I think I'll go over to looking at where all the planets are today. And I know, as I said, I don't want this to be just about astrology because a lot of you aren't astrologers. So I'll just explain what it means for a layman of what's going on in the heavens so that we can get a better idea of what's going to be happening. So now let me share my screen. Okay, so here we go. This is, as we speak, when we started our class today, we have the rising sign in Leo. Of course, I'm doing it for Dallas. That's where I'm located. Leo, which, as we've been talking about as astrologers, all the planets are in their own sign right now. This is so powerful. Saturn is in Aquarius, ruled by Aquarius. Jupiter's in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter rules Pisces. Excuse me. Mars is in Aries, and Mars rules Aries. Venus is in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. And Mercury is in Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini. Now, the sun and the moon are not in their signs of rulership. But all these planets here make for very powerful energy. And actually, where the planets are in terms of the house positions is extraordinary. Jupiter's in the 8th house of deep psychic ability, connecting to other worlds and other dimensions. Mars is in the 9th house of truth and spirituality. And this Mars-Uranus-Rahu conjunction is extraordinary. They're coming up where they are going to all converge at the same degree by July 31st and August 1st at 24 degrees of Aries. That's unbelievable. And I mentioned this to everyone before in some of my readings, but Swami Sayuteswar was born in March of 1888, and he has that conjunction, which could indicate that this can be a time of spiritual awakening. And I believe that it will, and we're on it. This is what we want. This is what we want for ourselves, to awaken to our higher consciousness. And that's what this energy should be used for. Mars in Aries is energy, and it couldn't be more powerful in Aries. Uranus is sudden, unexpected flashes of insight, and it's like electric, and Rahu magnifies it all the more. So moving over here to Venus, being in Taurus, Venus loves Taurus. It's all about beauty and creativity and love. So that's a positive sign for what's happening right now. But most of all, for what we're doing, especially me, I'm putting out a magazine that's going to come out July 7th. And my university starting tomorrow. It's all about Mercury, which is information, communications, learning, writing, speaking, traveling. All those things are empowered. And I know I said, things are going to be heating up towards the end of the month for, it's not such a good idea to travel, but right now it's really not all that bad, believe it or not, because Mercury's in a great sign, Gemini, and it's in the 11th house, which the 11th house deals with groups, friends, and organizations. So it is a great time to communicate with your friends, bring people together, join classes, all of these things that bring you together with like-minded people. That's what this Mercury in Gemini in the 11th house is all about. And this picture to me, once again, is very Gemini. Why do I say that? Because it's kind of comical. Gemini is the sense of humor. So I always tell people, lighten up. Come from a place where you laugh, because laughing opens us. I noticed so many times wonderful speakers use humor to really, really get people to open and remember things. One of my favorites was Wayne Dyer. He used that technique to the max. I watched him. He would always start out his speeches with, "Let me tell you a story." And ever since we're children, we love to be told stories. So I noticed everyone in the audience kind of leans forward a little bit when he says, "Let me tell you a story." So this is going to take us back to our childhood experiences of nighttime stories that we used to love to get before we went to sleep. So people love the story. But right before he delivered the punch, the line he wanted you to take home and remember, he told a joke. He told a joke. He loved to talk about his baldness and noticing all the hair on the pillow when he woke up, and how, he was losing his hair and getting bald. And I can't ever remember, why and how he made it funny. But, usually when we do create humor, we always kind of use ourselves as to find what's humorous about what we do or who we are to make people laugh. But right before you want to deliver what you want people to remember, tell a joke. Boom. People open when they laugh, then deliver the punch that you want people to remember. It's a beautiful way of using humor to help people learn. Humor is wonderful. Gemini is part of being humorous and funny. So that's how I see Gemini. And Mercury is going to be in Gemini for a while. It just stepped foot in there. It's got a ways to go. But I will say this also during this time. Mercury is beginning to move at tip-top speed. In other words, it's going to transit through a sign in less than a month. And usually Mercury and Venus travel in a sign the same amount of time as the sun does. It takes a month for them to transit through a sign regularly, but Mercury is going to be popping in and out of signs quite quickly. And today we also have the moon in Virgo. What is Virgo? Virgo is all about scrutinizing things, getting to the bottom of understanding things from our critical judgments and details. Virgo is ruled by Mercury as well. So this is a good time for all of you to start doing some writing, communication, anything to do with communication skills, putting it out there, learning, reading, everything where you're gathering or giving information. Now, the moon's nakshatra, which in Vedic astrology, they have the Pachanga, which are 5 things that relate to the moon and the sun and the moon in actuality, and how they determine daily events. So the moon's nakshatra today is in Uttara Falguni. And actually, Uttara Falguni is the nakshatra that can deal with relationships. Purva and Uttara Falguni are the marriage nakshatras. So this is a good time to come together with friends, with groups. It's a perfect time for me to have class today, I must say, with everyone, because this is what Uttara Falguni is all about. And Uttara Falguni does not like to be alone. They always like to be with people and have relationships. So this is a good time to come together. And it is in Virgo. And Virgo is the sign that's ruled by Mercury, which is learning and understanding. Now, the moon being here in the 2nd house, well, the 2nd house can deal with our speech, what we're saying, how we get our message across to people. This is so important because you have to understand it's not just the message that you're delivering to people. It has so much to do with the tone that you use in your voice, when you emphasize certain words, when you say them nicely. It's been said you can talk to a dog and you can tell that dog what a bad dog it is. But when you do it saying, "You are such a bad dog. You know you're a bad dog, don't you? Bad doggy." When you talk like that, it's not even the words, it's the tone that delivers the message. And when you, likewise, like if you say, "You're a good dog. You are such a good dog," that will make the dog scared because it's not just the words. It's the intonation that we use with the words. Always remember always remember this, and this is something I always told my children when they were growing up, and all of you that have teenage boys, remember to tell your teenage boys to enunciate their words, because they all go through this phase where they mumble. I don't know that, I didn't raise girls, so I don't know if the girls go through a stage like that as
Joni,
well.
it's not just boys, it's girls too.
Okay, thank you.
I've been experiencing that.
It's true. They don't enunciate their words and they're like mumbling or something. And today they all thank me for making them enunciate their words. And, some people told me when I went to Turkey that they watched my YouTube channel just because they were trying to learn English and they could read my lips the way I enunciated my words. And let me just say this, everybody. This took practice. I didn't do this normally or naturally, but I started watching people that made an impact when they speak. They enunciate their words very well, very clearly, and remember the intonation of what you're saying is what truly, truly matters. If I remember when I was a flight attendant, when we'd have to go through the cabin and make sure everybody has everything secured and all that stuff. Well, I was always kind of very, I didn't want to bother and inconvenience people. So I was one of those flight attendants that kind of overlooked certain things because I felt like if we had a crash landing, is that little thing on the seat going to matter? No. So I always use my judgment. But here's what I'm getting at. I would always tell people that didn't have their seatbelt on, I'd go, oh, excuse me, don't forget to fasten your seatbelt. Instead of my other coworkers would go by, you need to fasten your seatbelt. It's such a difference. And people feel like, you're not going to tell me what to do, lady, with the way, and they always had issues all day long with passengers because of the way they spoke to them, instead of, oh, by the way, don't forget, like you're saying to them, I know you know this, but you forgot. So you're being real sweet and just like reminding them of something they already know. You're not telling them they're stupid, like, don't forget, you're doing this wrong, so that's something to learn. How are we going to really talk to people? It is so important, our intonation and the way we speak to people. And like I said, what you put out, you get back. Do you really want somebody telling you what you need to do? Or do you want somebody to say, oh, I'm sorry, don't forget to do this, So that kind of thing. That's just like, to me, it's kind of common sense, but remember, people come from a place of what they're raised with. That was the way they were treated as children. And, not that I was treated that kindly as a child, but I just understood how I would expect to be treated. And that's the way I treat people. It's just the most simple, common day thing to want to be treated kindly. And when you put it out, you'll get it back. So in these days where people are going to get overheated, now going back over here to the astrology, Mars is in Ashwini right now. That nakshatra moves fast, and it does actually deal with traveling. And I think that might even be some of the reason why people are starting to have all these problems with traveling, such as flight delays and being canceled and things like that. But Mars will enter into Bharani, which this nakshatra is so powerful. Shri and I talked about it in our Saturday, update for July. And Bharani is the nakshatra that deals with the birthing process. And we're all going to go through this huge birthing process globally as a planet, not just what country you're in. And so I wanted you to know that Mars will enter Bharani around July 16th, and it will be there till August 5th. And that is going to be a time of a great birthing process. And not only that, because Rahu travels backwards, it will go back into Bharani while Mars moves forward into Bharani, and they both come together, all three the same degree with Uranus. Uranus is sudden, unexpected events. And what it actually means, what we think might be happening over here is actually something different will be happening over there that we weren't even looking at. And things that happen unexpectedly and suddenly can deal with earth changes as well. But this is going to be a huge purging on planet Earth. So make this a purging about you, your life, healing it, making it better. Because when I think about the birthing process, I think, yes, it's painful. But what comes out on the other side is a new life, a new beginning. And that is what is beautiful. And that is what we're about to transition through. This world is changing. Everything about it's about to change. And yes, it's going to be painful, but what comes out on the other side will be magnificent. So that's what I get about the astrology and what I feel like is happening in this world today. And don't forget, we've got the support of these beautiful planets. And by the way, Jupiter being here in Pisces, still with the sign of Neptune, pay attention to your dreams, because we are all interconnected right now through our dreams. When we dream, it's when our subconscious mind lets loose and starts to reflect our days, what's going on in our life, but sometimes they're transpersonal and they come from a higher source and or our higher self. Remember, sometimes when we think we're tapping in, well, when we do tap into our subconscious, or when we tap into who we really are, we're really tapping into our higher self. That self is connected to all that is and knows all. That's why I tell everyone to go within and get your own answers within yourself. You have to do the work. You have to contemplate, meditate, go within, ask, what is it that's causing me to react like this? Ask and you will receive your answer. And with this realization, you will and can change your life. And this is how we're all going to reflect to the world in such a different way to make a better world. We're all here to make better lives and a better world. Yes. And you will do this during this time, because I think this conjunction is pretty much, that's coming together the end of the month. I think this conjunction is going to be essentially like the Kundalini energy going up the spine and coming to our head and being this great awakening. Did you know that the key word for Uranus is called the Great Awakener? Uranus awakens us to thoughts, ideas that are beyond this world. What's in the future? Uranus rules astrology. I love Uranus because of that. And it's going to awaken us to a whole different world out there. But it comes from within, with your, first of all, your own awakening. And then it vibrates and is reflected to the outer world. We have more power than we know to change this world through changing our beliefs. And therefore, our beliefs will reflect our thoughts day in to day out. And our thoughts are fueled by how we react to certain circumstances. Do we immediately react with anger? Or do we react with, maybe I should stand back and think about this? Because normally I would have reacted with anger, but I'm on the process of changing the beliefs of who I am and what the world is out there. And from the picture I get with the nuns, what we think we know is out there, what we think we see, it's actually different than what we believe. So in other words, this is, as we think it is, it's actually something different. The world as we perceive it. And we may be in an illusion about something, and we got to wake up to what things really are and who we really are more than anything. So, I want to go back to, I want to ask questions. I want to know, what is it? Does anybody see something different, completely different than what I assessed from this photo? Does anybody get an image or a symbol of what they think that means?
I just want to say, Joni, I went to a Catholic school too.
Oh, no.
We had Italian nuns, and the same getup that you showed in that, but their gown was a little more like, it used to go further down to the floor. It was a full length. But when I look at that picture, what I see is the duality, right? We don't expect to see something like that. Like, I'm sure they eat ice cream, right? But we don't expect them to line up in front of a place like that, especially like you said, with the word devil on it and all that. But it's the duality. And I think that's what we talked about in the YouTube too, about the month of July being a month of extremes, right? It's just the first 2 weeks are so different from the last 2 weeks. So I think it's very symbolic that you came up with that. And also that picture, I mean, it's just so unexpected. And that's what Uranus is, right? It's unconventional, unexpected, and playful. That's Gemini. So playful, right? I mean, we all like ice cream. you know. So it's just, I think that's what I got from that. But I also wanted to add a little bit to the negative talk that you were referring to, because I'm big culp. I do that all the time. But as you know, my daughter does ballet, and she when we take pictures and all that, I don't know if it's just ballerinas, but maybe all kids do that, but they're so critical about the angle of the foot and the way it is turned and the way it is pointed. And, maybe that's required, but I don't know. But I keep telling her, the more you have this negative self-talk or the more you criticize yourself, your energy level is going down, right? Your vibration is going down. You have to say it in a different way, and maybe the same thing, but you can take it as a constructive thing, right? Yeah, I did great, but maybe I can do this differently, something like that. But it's so quick with the negative stuff, and I think I completely agree with you. It's very difficult when you talk yourself down, because you're the only one who can uplift yourself, and the other day I was also remembering this when you were talking. I saw something on YouTube, and I tried doing it in my life. So on YouTube, there was this little short, those YouTube shorts that have, like, I think it's like 10, 15 seconds.
Mhm.
And it said, this wife was leaving the house and the husband was in the house, and the wife was like, don't forget to do this. And he forgot to do that, right? So and then she says, no, you don't do that. And then they show the next scene where she goes out of the house and she says, remember to do this. And then he remembered to do it. So for the longest time, I've been telling my daughter to clean her room. So every day before I log into work, because it's summer now, she's just upstairs. So I tell her, Neha, don't forget to clean your room. And I said it the first day, I said it the second day, and it never got done. Like 5 o'clock in the evening, I'm done with work, I come out, the room's not cleaned. And then after I saw that YouTube thing, I said, the next day I said, Neha, remember to clean your room. And it was like magic. And apparently it's psychologically even been proven that the brain cuts out the don't and only hears the forget. And I never knew that. That was so fascinating. And I think that's really true, exactly like you said, that, that negative, I don't know, for some reason, maybe the way we are brought up, we kind of hang on to those words which comes out. But if you say it in a different way with a positive side to it, then it comes out, and the brain kind of understands it in a different way. I don't even know how to explain it. But that's just something I wanted to add to that, along with what the world is telling you. It's a lot about also what you're telling yourself, right?
Yes.
Telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to be good at this, or today's meeting is going to go really bad, or, we have this way of saying things are going to be really bad. I don't know if it's because we think that if we say that, then if it goes mediocrely well, then we feel good about it. Maybe it's a defense mechanism, but that's something we need to stop doing. And it's very hard because it's something I'm learning too. But the moment you start saying, you know what, I think today's meeting is going to go really well, then it's almost like the universe starts shifting and moving things in your favor to make that sentence happen. It's the weirdest thing. It's hard to do it because we have this way of, kind of saying things are going to be bad. And then if it's a little good, we are like, oh, great, but if you say it's going to be amazing, then that's what it's going to shift and make happen. So that's just something I wanted to add to that. But a great message, Joni. Thank you for that.
Thank you, because you're exactly right. The subconscious mind hears the literal of what you're saying, such as, don't forget. Literally, you will forget. I love that. And that's so true. And they say, like, I want to stop smoking. Well, I forgot how it can be phrased where, I want to lose weight, I want to stop smoking, whatever it is. You have to phrase it so that it's already in the positive, and that when you're doing it in the positive, you will create it and it's going to happen. Yes. I forgot how you reverse that, but you never do don't. I don't want this. You say, I do want this. That's the difference. And that's exactly what you're saying. And, you know, yeah, like you say, we always hear the word no, or don't do, or all of that. And that's what the subconscious mind keeps.
And anytime you talk to them, you know, my daughter's a teenager. Anytime you talk to them, the first thing that comes out of the mouth is no. And well, I think it's partly because they want to talk really fast and get on, because this generation, they're like so quick to do things real fast, right? Fast speed. So the other day, you know, we were talking about something. She said no. And I said, okay, I challenge you to say the same thing to me with different words, and you don't get to use no. You can say you don't want to do it. Absolutely fine with me, no problem. But you cannot use the word no. It just, and it was so difficult. She thought for a really long time, but she did it. But it wasn't the first thing that came out of her mouth, though. So it's just amazing how that works. But thank you, Joni.
Thank you. Yeah, we have to retrain ourselves. You know, the world has taught us to be in a certain way, and it's not delivering what we want out of life. So we have to retrain our mind, our consciousness, and, like Shree's saying, our words, because whatever we're speaking is really kind of what we're thinking. So we have to train ourselves to come from the positive and not the negative, you know. So
you are your thoughts, right?
Yes, we are. And our thoughts originate from our beliefs. And that's where we have to go to the core essence and change those beliefs. And definitely, we have to start coming from the positive of having something, not the negative of don't or can't or whatever it is. I love that. That's so true. Okay, so anyone else see anything in that picture that I missed? Or because I just think it's like, it's not what we expect. That's what I think that picture, and that's actually why I chose that photograph, because it's not what we expect to see. Anyone want to add anything we didn't see in that?
I was just gonna say something about, back in the day, they had the nuns were, they were, even now they have the cloistered nuns where they don't interact with the regular people, and it was like put up on a pedestal, and they were close to God, and the rest of you heathens are down on the bottom, But now it feels like, they're saying, hey, I kind of like what you guys are doing, with the ice cream shop. And it's kind of like the two worlds are melding together and meshing together. Maybe this Uranus is this sudden change, is that the walls are going to start coming down between these groups. Like, you got the elites, you got the, the business people, and then you got, like, even in India, you have the different classes, and you can't even get out of that class. You're born in that. Tough beans for you, because you're not getting out no matter what. And then they, you'd have to basically to get out of that. But it seems like they're saying, no, we're going to be somebody be equal in, just not these artificial walls that are there, more like an equality of whatever you want to do in life, you can do it. Nobody's got these hard and fast rules, like nuns can't go down to the shop and eat ice cream,
Exactly. Oh my God, Joan, that is perfect. Exactly what you said is another reason why I kind of keyed into that picture. Yeah, that, what we think all those rules or laws, it's a breakdown. You're right. So cool. I love it. What a crazy picture to see, have so much symbology. I love it.
Joni, I thought it was interesting when you talked about devil, the word devil in there, because I was not raised Catholic, but I agreed to raise my daughter Catholic because her father is, and she's been in Catholic school since kindergarten. And as I kind of have woken up to the horrors of the child trafficking and the eons of these types of things going on, I've heard many stories of the nuns being very involved in some really horrid things. So when you put that picture up, I saw like an old version of what I might have thought, oh, look, it's the sweet little nuns going to get ice cream, to what I sort of see a lot of them as having, you know, done a lot of abusive things over time. And so anyway, I think it's true that your assessment that things just aren't always what they seem is just so true.
Okay, great. Thank you. And don't worry, Julie, I had put my kids in Christian or Catholic schools too. It's just, you know, it's not as severe as when I went there, all that, you know, hell stuff. But I don't know, my kids kind of took it with a grain of salt. I guess as they came home and they saw, you know, all the astrology books laying around the house, and they just didn't take it too seriously like we did. I think because well, my oldest son, it was a Christian school that he went to. My youngest one went to Catholic school, which is a whole different story. But this Christian school actually told my son that I was going to go to hell because of what I did, and he believed it for a while. And like I said, I told you guys in one of the earlier classes of Shooting Stars that I had him watch that movie Resurrection, and he woke up and said, okay, I get it. This is, you are not, you know, part of the devil and all that nonsense. But it's just, you know, all these beliefs and stuff that they throw onto us, they're just so wrong. And you know, it's just, that's why we have to start finding our truths, because there are a lot of cults out there, and there's so many people that are following these cults because they don't want to think for themselves, and they're scared of what, you know, that they will go to hell because they actually believe these evangelists and all that stuff. And yeah, we just have to remind everyone that you are part of the divine, and you need to listen to your inner guidance, because there's too many people that don't want to think for themselves. So always go within and ask, because you have the correct answers for you. But if you do realize that things aren't working out, you got to start realizing what you're doing to contribute to it not working out the way you want. And once you realize this, then you have the ability to let go of the past circumstances that caused it. And that's what I call healing. We're all healing ourselves from our past. And as we do this, we grow spiritually, and we come together more as our awareness and consciousness, and our vibration will raise. As Shri said, you know, our vibration is constantly lowered with all that critical stuff. And we all know when we're teenagers, that's all we do is criticize, because we want so badly to fit in. We want to have friends. We want to fit in. We want to be, you know, liked by everyone. And when we aren't, we go through all this self-analysis of what's wrong with us. And we start believing all that crazy stuff. And that's not the reality and the truth. So interesting that we really do become who we are at such an early age, and we're still letting it control us. That's what we have to realize, you know? Okay. Any other comments about this cute photo I showed everyone? I think it's cute.
Joni, I have something to say.
Okay.
So that picture was so relevant, and so the dots that I connected was Saturn being, because I'm relating it to astrology, and Saturn coming to Capricorn. So it's breaking the old norms, breaking what does not work, letting go of that. And now, and you picked up that picture, you pulled it out at the perfect time when Saturn is just about to enter Capricorn for the final few months. And you know, the nuns, we relate to them as symbol of religion, but as humanity, we are moving from religion to spirituality. And just an hour ago, I was reading a chart with beautiful exalted Venus, and exalted Venus is about spirituality, and that does not mean not to enjoy and fulfill our desires while we are here. So it means going beyond. When we have fulfilled, we are contented, and that is when we are materially satisfied, that we go beyond the material.
Thank you. And I want to add something to that you made me think of with that story about Venus. Venus in Vedic astrology is the ruler of the Asuras. There's two different planetary camps. There's the Devas and the Asuras. Jupiter is the ruler of the Devas, which are the angels, and Venus is the ruler of the Asuras, which are the devils. And here you have these two beautiful planets that represent prosperity, wealth, love. And you're thinking in the old, and actually Shri knows this myth better than I do. I had to ask her about it. But many times the way the world was positioned and the way things looked lately, to me, it looked like the whole story about the Asuras and the Devas. And in other words, what I surmised out of the end of that story was we're thinking Venus is part of the devils. But in the old myth, Venus was actually tricked by the Devas in the end, and they got the elixir of immortality from the Devas, which are supposed to be the saints and the good guys, the angels. They actually in the end were the ones that tricked the Asuras and took the elixir of immortality. So it's not what we think with the the good, the bad, the devils, the angels, just kind of like the whole theme we're talking about, even with that movie Bedazzled. And if you want to be entertained, that's a really cute, it's just a cute movie, Bedazzled. And it's easy to find and it's fun to watch. And actually, it has a spiritual connotation, especially for children in the end. It's really cute. So Shri, did I get the Asuras and the
You
Devas?
did. I'm so proud of you. You got the story right. No, that's true. He's called Shukracharya. He used to be the teacher of the demons, the demon clan.
Yeah.
And but in the mythology, he's constantly seen advising them to do the right thing. But they don't listen to him, of course. But he was on the darker side of things, rather, compared to the devas, who are the gods, who are on the bright side or the light side. But yes, they were tricked. They were tricked into getting I think it's like a elixir, the amrit that we call. So those are two separate, completely opposite. Again, Joni, going back to the duality, right?
Right.
It's amazing. That seems to be the trend, throughout.
Yeah, and we have to make the right choice. And and if I may add to Joni, you said it beautifully. And what happened, see, in the end, the universe is fair. The only person who could revive the dead, bring them back to life, was Shukracharya. He was the only one who had the Mrit Sanjeevani Vidya. So from Shiv. There's none of the devas, not even Jupiter, not even Brihaspati had that knowledge. Only one person had it. So that is why Jupiter stands for religion, spirituality, and law, but eventually it is the exalted Venus.
I love that. Isn't that cool? Yes, because Venus is love. And when I think about what really heals everyone and everything, is love. And that's what the divine is, love. True unconditional love is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
And also, Joni, when we go back to that picture that you were showing, another movie I feel like that has a lot of duality in that context is Sister Act. I don't know. you know, she's a Las Vegas call girl, sorry, show girl, and then she goes to the convent and teaches. I mean, that movie, you know, it's also got that same concept of duality, you know, exploring and finding the truth of the other side, you know, like Joan said, bringing down the walls. There is no, you know, I'm the best and you're, you know, you can get here, you're not there yet. There's none of that. Everybody is, you know, exploring the spiritual world, you know, and we are all at different levels of it, and there's no need to look down on the other person.
Right.
So, and she finds that, right? She first goes to the convent and then she's like, oh, you know, I can't do this. I can't wake up early in the morning. I can't eat this food. But then towards the end, she starts loving it, you know? So I think that's, you know, and Joan, I completely agree with you on that. And I'm surprised you didn't have a Joanology for that.
That's funny. Yeah. Any other comments from anyone else want to add to what our message is today, or what you've learned from this, or anything?
I think you're right on. I think this has been like an overlap of this last week, and all these things you've come up with today are like just saying the repetition of things that I've actually had the universe kind of throwing at me. You know, my son got invited to go to Spain on that big hiking trip, and he doesn't have his passport. So there was all this tension coming from me, like, how are we going to rush this with COVID and all this stuff? And me worrying about him traveling when things going to get chaotic at the end of the month. And I was like, had all this tension and resistance. And I was trying to, she was on speaker, and I wasn't trying to be, I didn't sound like I wanted to sound. Let's put it that way. So the tone is what, you know, and she said to her, she texted him after they hung up, and she says, "Is your mom mad at me?" And I'm like, no, I didn't mean to come off that way. But the reality is we don't really realize how we can fill up with so much energy and how we express, and we're trying to figure things out. And not just that, just a letting the doubt of this isn't possible happen, which my son got an appointment to go down to San Francisco to get his one-day passport thing. I mean, you know, they cleared all that thought of me trying to think this wasn't possible. And so, you know, again, and then this movie or it's a series, it's called Collateral. We just started watching it, and there's a nun in it. And I'm like, all this stuff is like, I'm like, wow. I mean, I feel like this is just so interfaced with what's, you know, just to bring that out of the hat like that. And it's just like, that's how our world works. And the signs are right in front of us. And, you know, how we can improve on ourselves is pretty much why we're here with you. And so, you know, you're just basically reinforcing to say, be conscious of it. Really think about the tone and the words that are coming out and how you're phrasing it, and that's going to actually have an influence on the response. Exactly. So I'm grateful, because there's a lot of stuff coming up for me to have a lot of nervous energy about. So I'm going to really try to do my best to just give my son the space.
And do look at your chart. I know you know astrology, Michelle. Look at your son's chart. Does he have any heavy duty aspects? If he doesn't, he's fine.
He's got his ascendant in Libra, so I'm a little nervous.
I mean, it has to be a very close in degrees though, Michelle, because I mean, my ascendant is in Libra, you know,
right.
A lot of people have that. It's,
yeah.
You're born in 2 hours, and that day, of course, you have your ascendant in Libra.
I know.
But, you know, don't worry about it.
You know, I don't think there's really me stopping it anyway. You know, like my son's 21, and my other son, who's 26, just took off on a road trip today to go to Canada and everywhere. And so, you know, you're at that point in their lives where you don't really have much say anyway, even if I said, please don't go. But, you know, I don't want to put that energy forward anyway.
You know what I tell every mother to do? Remember what I told you, what I used to do when I would travel, and I'd be so afraid. What if the kids got out by the pool and they don't?
Yep.
Ask Divine Mother to protect the children and let it go. They're protected.
Right. I did last night. I let it go. Yep. Good. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? I want to hear from some people that maybe are haven't spoken before.
Yeah. So Joni, this is Sandeep.
Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sandeep.
Yeah. So I had my last week was good. It's about intention of what, you know, 2 weeks back we spoke about intentions, and one intention which just manifested, and it was something which I knew it would happen, it would manifest. But one thing I saw, so I was telling you all that we were quite stressed at home, and we wanted to get house help, and I had put the energy that, hey, so I went to colleges, 5 neighborhood colleges, went and sent emails, and then I also went to some of my Indian friends. There was the liquor shop which I go to here, who he happens to be an Indian owner, and I said, hey, I need help, and some 2-3 places. And then out of the blue, the liquor shop guy calls me up and he says, hey, there is someone, a middle-aged lady who needs help. She's just come from India and is there for help. And it manifested. And, today she started yesterday. We met her on Sunday, met the daughter, and then she needs work, and, she's just got a green card. And so it was just that something an intention which I put out for getting help for my wife and for the family. I knew it would happen, but it was the intention that it would manifest. But then there are other intentions which I have, which doesn't have that type of energy, and it's going to happen. So I'm just trying to, is it like sometimes your the orientation, okay, you're trying to help somebody, then it happens. But other things, if you're trying to do for yourself, but then another thing was, the good thing is like on Thursday, I had a meeting with Geeta, after a long time we connected, and we had a great session, and then she told me a few mantras which I've been doing, and it's been, so to sum up, it's been good week. And also another thing which I wanted to, I know you do a lot on communication, and thanks to you about the July 2nd. So I blog, and some of the things I write about business, about my child, as raising a child with special needs as a dad. So I chose a Murat to publish my blog. And on Saturday, when all the 6 planets were there, and I chose it with Cancer rising, so everything was in its own house, and and that blog, I tweeted it, and at a particular time with Pushya rising moon its own sign. And the cool thing was that I had around that was my best performing blog, because there were around 65 retweets, there were 200 likes, and then there were 1,000 views, and from 55 different countries. So it's just that the good energy, and I was supposed to do that same blog on June 30th, because I thought, hey, I have to get it down on a Wednesday. But it so happened I picked up a time, and I went to the beach, because I said, hey, I'm not going to the beach because I go to the beach every day. And then I lost my keys. And then here I'm stranded to, and that Murat didn't work. Then I said, hey, what Joni said, July 2nd, just do it. So it was like a nimitta, that didn't happen. Then I said, it's not meant to be, just do it on that day, just do it. And the beauty of it was, because this blog was about this crypto company, which they're really in a bad shape, and everybody's been criticizing, and somewhat my gut feeling says that there was good. But the good thing was, there was good information which came out on Friday, which was very relevant to the blog, and which strengthened my case. So some things are, you have to go with the flow and be aware, and look at nimittas, and look at the astrology works, and you have to be in a positive path. So so the Tuesday meetings, I block my calendar, and it's always so nice to come here, because it gets me more grounded. But of course, I'm no perfect, I do lose my cool, and do lose my temper. Like yesterday, I was the worst human being I could have ever been. The way I was with my in-laws, my dad, and my wife, and all that. So I'm one of those fiery personalities. But it did result in something which was very good, because I wanted my mother-in-law to come and spend time, because for 6 years my mother-in-law has not come to see my wife, and my wife has not been has gone to India. So that all resulted in my mother-in-law booking my tickets, and she's coming next month for 3 months. So sometimes when you lose anger and you lose your cool for some, of course, the way I behaved was unforgivable. Not unforgivable, but very, very, very horrible. But then the thing is, something good came out of it. The anger came out of it. So anyway, there's too much of talking. But the thing is, there are a lot of positive things happening, and which is a good thing. Yeah, and this class is definitely benefiting me. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. That is so wonderful. Well, yes. You know what I get out of this, Sandeep, is that you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this would happen, this event. And I always say, you can't say, I hope, I pray, I believe, I want. You have to say, I know. And when I finally came to a point where I knew something, it wasn't like any shadow of a doubt. I just knew something. It was something a while back when about getting a house. And when I knew I would get that house, not I hoped, I believed, I wanted, all those things, it happened. And actually my kids say, Mom, how did you make that happen? I said, the only thing I can tell you is I knew it would happen. And when I came to that place of knowingness, that's what creates and makes things happen. And it's not easy because sometimes we're coming from a place where we don't believe it's possible, but we've got to change that mindset. That's what this whole class should be about, that we have to change our beliefs and we have to come to a place to know. And then whatever it is that you're wanting to create or manifest, it will, beyond a shadow of a doubt, happen when we come from I know. So thank you for that. That is very powerful.
Thanks.
Yes. So let's see, we got just about 9 more minutes left. If anyone else wants to add anything to what we've surmised today.
Joni, I know I've already spoken, but I want to share that regarding manifestation in general, one of the things that I'm struggling with is, I know that I'm a powerful manifester. I've watched it work. I've been very consciously engaged in the process for many, many years. And where I am now is, I'm in about to just step into a whole new chapter of my life. And there's this part of me that is feeling really controlling around the outcomes of my manifestations, because I've seen, there's always consequences to everything. And you can't always, obviously see every single, thing. And, so I guess I just want to manifest things with the least amount of, I don't know, things that I want to experience after that. And I know that sounds crazy because we can't control everything. But maybe it's just more of a courage and faith thing that if I go for what I really want, I can handle, the things that come next.
Good point. That is a great point. And going back to my understanding of astrology, Pluto is the planet that deals with control. And it deals with power. Enormous power. Pluto deals, when Pluto was discovered, that's when atomic energy came into our world. And it deals with control. What else happened around the 1930s, around when it was discovered, was that all the dictatorships that are around the world, Hitler started, Stalin, just all these world dictators, even the mafia was going on in Chicago and all that in the mid 30s and 40s when Pluto came into our world. But my point is for you, Julie, and this is really, you already stated my point. I'm just giving you a reason why, because Pluto deals with power and control. But what ultimately Pluto is about is surrender. Because when people become so into controlling something, they become out of control. And the example I always use for that is an eating disorder. You know, when you think that you're in so much control, the way people feel like that, really feel like they're out of control. They feel like if they can control their eating habits and you know, it goes into a major problem, then they become out of control with eating disorders. But my point is, at Pluto is the symbol of the phoenix that rises from the ashes. So Pluto, I always say, Pluto, you got to learn to surrender. And when you do, you kind of come from a place where it's like, may thy will be my will. And when that happens, that's when the power, the true power, steps in and heals your life. So it's almost like sometimes when you feel like things are going out of control and you're trying to control it, you just got to step back and say, I surrender. And then the most beautiful thing happens. And things just kind of come together the way they're supposed to. Like you said, you may think you want something and then you get it and all these other circumstances come along. That is exactly what the movie Bedazzled is all about. You know, the guy says, I want to be the richest man in the world. And then he becomes a drug lord and everybody's trying to kill him. So, you know, it's just, this is such an important message part of it, because sometimes we think, you know, oh, I can control everything. No, we can't. You know, there's outside forces that are going to be, maybe it's not what's good for us, and that's why we can't get it. And that's where sometimes the issue around surrender comes in. Does this mean anything to you, Julie?
Yes, it definitely helps. Thank you, Joni.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So anyway, and there's a fine edged sword. This is a double-edged sword when we think about what we want, and it's not what's good for us. We have to step back and really look at what is good for us, and trying to exert too much control on anything will always result in being out of control. And then you'll lose it, and then you'll realize, well, like with addictions, people in 12-step programs, they have to come to a source where they surrender because they know that there's a higher power that's going to help guide them. And they are that higher power. So that's where it kind of comes in too. Okay. So yeah, anyone else want to say any closing thoughts or anything? We have like 3 minutes before we're going to close.
I just wanted to say something about that Rahu Uranus Mars conjunction. From what you were just saying, the conversation was amazing, because in my head I got, you know, people don't want to get Rahu'd. Basically, yeah. You said Rahu is always give with a price, so it's like, oh, I want to wish for that, but I don't want to be a drug lord, but I want to wish for that. And she's like, I don't want to wish for that because I might not be able to figure out how badly could it be delivered, like in a bad way. And I don't want to do that. So I want to make sure that I'm controlling how I'm asking for my intention or whatever, so that I can get what I want, but not get the badness with it. But I see this as like for the governments and all this being too controlling, locking people down because they want to go into a lockdown again, because now with this new variant, blah, blah, blah. But I just see this as being, if they get too controlling, basically Rahu's going to do what to them of, yeah, we'll let you have all the control, but it's going to be with ice. And then the people might just end up revolting.
Yeah.
And so it's going to break down those walls that we were talking about before, and it's going to start bringing the truth out of the matter. And so people can get to the real cause of the problem, get to the truth, the love can come out of that and heal. And we're going to ascend to the next level that we have to ascend to evolve. So I really see that as like that Rahu could be our kind of saving grace, because it might be the wrecking ball that we need to break down the old patterns and the old system that's not working anymore. And, you know, having the dictators dictate is not good for the people. And the majority, and the 99%, that's the people. And the 1% that thinks that they're going to control everybody is not going to win.
Exactly. Beautifully said. And I love it because, you know, I've been saying time and time again, this is a purging. of all that's not working so that it can be reborn. And that's what it's going to be about. So good. Thank
And
you.
that's the Phoenix too. That's the Phoenix.
Exactly. And you know, Pluto's in Capricorn right now. So there's like all the governments are about to be transformed. And you know, the United States chart has a Pluto return because it's been, what, about 200, I don't even know what yesterday made for the United States, but it's around 244 years that, you know, Pluto makes its return, and it's returning to the starting position. So this is huge transformation and change that's happening for the world. It's a big purging of all that was not working so that now we can realize what we need to do to make it all work. It's going to take time, but it's going to happen. Okay. All right, everybody. So our time is up to come together and remind ourselves of what we need to know for our coming week, and enjoy this week while the planets are strong. You use them for your greatest advantage to heal your life and to start the things that you really want to manifest and work. This is the most powerful time. So I hope some of you will be tomorrow in my new first semester class of students at the university. So with that, I will leave that. And thank you, everyone. I love coming together with all of you. This is so meaningful for me because I need this as much as we all need this. We are all in this together. Remember that. Okay, everyone. Namaste.
Thank you, Joni.
Namaste. Thank you, Joni.